not well known, understood, or accepted by the general public because your pain is associated with taboo subjects in most societies. Today, we are talking about menstruation, sex, infertility, and pain. Today, we are talking about endometriosis and endomyosis. I hope I said that right. Are you guys ready for another chronic pain conversations? Let's go. Hello, and welcome to Chronic Pain Conversations. My name is Kalila Roosevelt, and this is my lovely co host, Ms. Sharifa McLaren. This is a show where we have open and honest dialogue about chronic pain. We share on our experiences, acknowledge the wide variety of chronic pain diagnoses, and look at ways to manage chronic pain. Are you guys ready? So, as usual, we're going to jump into a little pain and pleasure today. So, let's do this. Sharika, how are you doing today? Tell me, Mama.
I can't lie, I'm pleasure today. It's a nice day outside. Got through the weekend. We had my cousin's funeral this weekend, but got through it, starting a fresh week. So I can't lie, I'm pleasure today, and I'm excited for having our guest today.
Awesome.
How about you?
I'm a little bit of pain and pleasure. I am making some strides when it comes to my endurance. So I kind of got on the treadmill this weekend and started getting walking. Every time I tried to take it up a notch, my body kind of shut back down, but that's where the pain is coming in. But the pleasure is bit by bit, I'm increasing. So I'm very thankful at the fact that, every day it's a new opportunity to go somewhere.
Right.
So yeah, that's what's going on with me. I'm really excited about today's guest. What about you?
I'm excited. I am just as excited because it's funny. We hear about these things, but we never really process what these things are.
Yeah.
And did you know that Gabrielle Union went through, I hope I'm saying it right, see, I can't do this.
We're going to blooper these.
No, seriously.
And that's why we have a guest on today.
No, and she's going to tell us how to say it, but I think it's adenomyosis.
Okay.
Yeah, Gabrielle Union actually experienced this. Right. And it was, I think, a frustration to her, but we have a video today that I'm going to play, a little clip, like 1 minute, and she'll give her explanation as to what she went through before we bring on our guests.
Okay, let's do this.
Okay.
The second I walked through the very first fertility, door, doctor's door, it was, you're old, you automatically have X, Y, and Z. And if there's any trouble, it's due to your age.
What is old now? What is considered old?
By fertility standards, anything older than like 34, you are officially high risk. You have diminished ovarian reserve. You are officially, you may have a tough time. So when an older woman walks in, they immediately dismiss anything else as it's just your age. After seeing the world's leading IVF doctors for a number of years, I was finally correctly diagnosed with adenomyosis.
And what does that mean?
Adenomyosis is endometriosis of the muscle. Any woman can get endometriosis or adenomyosis at any age. And it can cause diminished ovarian reserve. Mm-hmm. So what they're just automatically assuming is age-related diminished ovarian reserve. It's actually tied into adenomyosis. But I would have had the same issues in my 20s, and I was not correctly diagnosed or treated.
Wow.
Adenomyosis. Adenomyosis. See how easy that was? Adenomyosis. What do you think about that?
Truth be told, it's a very interesting. It's interesting because I think what happens is people just I like what she was saying, at the fact that she would have gotten this diagnosis at a young age, but she just kept getting misdiagnosed, which is a whole other conversation that we always have in terms of human beings and making the right conversation. And I'm so glad that she kept looking.
Yeah.
I want to know what IVF is. I do want to know that. So I'm
not even going to try to explain what I think it is.
Okay.
But yeah, I found it very interesting for that same thing, like being misdiagnosed, which we talk about all the time. But it's just interesting. Like once you're a certain age, it's just, you have issues. That's it. You're put off to the side and no one takes the time to really figure out, well, what is that issue? Can it, like, you know, but I want to jump into
a strong man though. I mean, like, I know that Dwayne Wade is just like, you know, he's a baller, but you know, strong man is support his girl like that.
I mean, it's a good look. It's a good look.
It's a good look.
I want to get into our guest though. I want to bring our guest on. Today, our guest is Brynn. She shares her story with us, and she's going to tell us about how many years she went through these symptoms until she started looking for answers. From trying different meds to even undergoing expiratory laparoscopy, she will explain how she got the diagnosis of adenomyosis and endometriosis and what her future looks like. I got it. As a woman, having excessive bleeding every day, constantly, or even as a man, you're concerned for your partner finding it painful to have sex. What do you think about that? So,
listen, we've already had the conversation, but this is a whole different perspective.
It's a different perspective. Absolutely.
All right. Okay. Are we ready to do this?
So I'm ready to bring on Brynn.
All right, let's go.
Hi. Okay.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. We're excited. We're excited.
We are so excited. So we know what our conversation is today, but you know, we wanted to ask you a couple of conversations. As you heard just before we brought you in, when our first season, we actually had a conversation about chronic pain and intimacy. Yeah. And we took it from the perspective of like both myself and Sharifa's chronic pain, sufferers, conquerors. We've had painful interactions when it's come to being intimate, but that's kind of like endurance or like incontinence or different things. So you've got a whole other chronic pain that is literally coming up. And, you know, in our research for this show, we found out that the youngest girl diagnosed with endometriosis was 7, and that there was this familiar component to it in terms of immediate mom or sister having it. So can you take us through your chronic pain journey? Tell us what age did you start having, your periods and these complications and things like that?
Yeah, so my mom actually has endometriosis, and I didn't find that out until, like, she never told me until I got the diagnosis, and then, then I found out. I got my period when I was about 15, and right away they were painful, but I'm sure you guys know as well, as women, you get kind of told, that's normal. You're supposed to be in pain and it's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be debilitating. It's not supposed to be debilitating. So I pushed it off for a very long time, thinking this was normal. I had really heavy bleeding as well, but people don't talk about it. You might talk about it with a few friends, but you don't talk about it in general. So you don't know what is normal, and you don't go to the doctors. You might talk to your mom if you're comfortable, but you don't know. So for a long time, I just thought that my heavy bleeding and my painful periods were normal. I thought having to stay home from school for the whole week was normal. It shouldn't be like that. And after, so I just kind of went through that by myself. I didn't search for answers at all until I became sexually active, which was around like 28, oh no, that was 18, I think. So when I got my boyfriend at 18, we started dating, and I started having insane, painful experiences when we had sex. And I would also bleed every time we had sex as well. And I thought, okay, this is not normal. I don't think this is normal. So that's when it clicked that something was wrong. And I started searching for answers. And I'm 22 now, so I've been looking for answers since then. I don't really know what else to say about that.
Do you know where it comes from, how it starts?
No, so they really don't know. There's not a lot of research on it, and that is true with a lot of chronic pain diagnoses, but also with a lot of women's issues. There's not a lot of research on it. I think there's a genetic portion. There's lots of different things that people will think can cause it, but there's no proof really. So yeah, endometriosis is the endometrial tissue, endometrial-like tissue. It's not the actual tissue. It's something similar to growing wherever. And actually, like when I was doing research about it, when I got diagnosed, they found it on every single organ pretty much, except for like one, I can't remember. It can be in your brain. It can be everywhere. So that is scary. And then adenomyosis is strictly in the uterus. So it isn't everywhere else. It's in the walls of the uterus. And it's the same endometrial-like tissue.
So are we talking about the lesions that they found everywhere kind of thing? Because that was going to be my next question, like where they found it.
Yeah, so for me, I went and got my exploratory laparoscopy in 2019, I believe. 2019, late 2019. And they found endometriosis, but for me, my endometriosis is not, there's different levels of it. It's not super excessive. They found little pieces here and there, and they were hoping that that was it. But so my adenomyosis is what causes the majority of my symptoms. So they removed, I think, 3 different lesions, which really is nothing when you hear these horror stories of people that go in for laparoscopies and, you know, they have their bowels stuck to the wall of their stomach or something like that with all these lesions. They will stick all different organs together. So that's, mine was not nearly as bad as that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really scary.
So one of the things that we do, like when we come in, you know, you hear us talk about pain and pleasure. Can you give us an idea? And you've already mentioned in terms of being home for a week on your period, but can you give us an average of how you would rate your pain and what a good day looks like versus what a bad day looks like for you when you're dealing with this?
Yeah, so I actually started after my laparoscopy because they told me, you know what, this should take care of all of it. And they, taking out those few lesions, they thought that it would take care of it, and it didn't. My pain got so much worse, and it's a progressive disease, so it just keeps getting worse. So I started a diary of every day I would write down my symptoms in my notes on my phone. And so I kind of started getting an idea of what a bad day is. So before I'm on a certain med now that has helped, but before this, my pain was like between an 8 and 10 almost all days. I think I would have in a month, I would have maybe 2 to 3 days of a 4 out of 10. And I never had anything lower than that ever. So those were my couple good days. I describe it as like you're in this, you're surviving, but you're not living. So you'll wake up one day, you'll have a good day, and you're like, whoa, where was I?
So when you're having a bad day, is it that you're just in bed the whole time? Is it that you can't move? Is it that your family has to help you? Like, what is the difference? If someone was to watch us right now and they've never heard of this, or they know somebody that has it, what does a 10 look like? What does a 10 look like for you?
A bad day for me is you're in bed. You can't get comfy even though you're in your bed. You're like writhing in pain. It just is, it's awful. You're puking from the pain. Your vision is going like in and out from it. I've passed out from the pain before. And there's not much, at least in my circumstance, there's not much you can do. You can go to emergency, but I know that many people in my same situation, you don't get much help there. You know, they'll give you an Advil maybe. So you're better to just stay at home and just fight through it. Yeah, you can't eat. I can never eat when I'm in pain. You can't go to the bathroom. You can't do anything. You can't think. It's really, really, really awful. Is it just your uterus that's in pain or different parts of your body? So it's obviously different for everybody. Everybody gets different expressions of pain. But for me, so it started out, I just had like pelvic pain. And then because it's progressive, I started getting more lower abdominal pain, the pelvic pain. I started getting lower back pain. And then fairly recently, I would say like late last year, or that's a year ago, but fairly recently, I guess, I started getting nerve pain, which is also another symptom that lots of people get, across my shoulders, down my arms, and then across my hips and down my legs, which seems so odd. How can just your uterus cause all these different symptoms? But it can, and it's just full body at that point, and you just have nothing. Everything is just in so much pain.
Wow.
So we know that there's no cure for endometriosis, but there are treatments and medications that shrink the lining of the uterus and lesions. Which have you used to improve your quality of life?
I've tried a lot. I actually have them all written down so that I wouldn't forget anything. I guess I'll start with what I'm on right now that has actually really helped. So I started Visan. It's a hormonal treatment. I started that April 12th, and it has really helped. I don't want to say my pain is gone because it's not, but now I only have pain around it's a long cycle, but I only have pain for like 15 days, 20 days a month, which is still a lot, but it's not nearly as intense as it used to be. So that's what I'm on now. But I tried just pain meds. I tried SNRIs, which is like, it's an antidepressant, but it has off-label use as pain management. So I tried venlafaxine and I tried duloxetine. I tried lots of natural stuff. I went to a naturopath. I tried changing my diet. I tried healing touch. I tried THC and CBD stuff. I've tried pelvic floor physiotherapy, a whole bunch of kinds of birth control. None of those worked. So I've tried just a ton of stuff over the years. And I'm thankful that I have this now that seems to be working. But even that, it was really tough for me to decide to go on these meds. Like, there's a lot of shame, I think, around medication in every aspect. So when I had to go onto pain meds or I had to go onto hormonal treatment, there was so much shame around it. So it was really hard to admit to myself that, you know what, you need help here.
Right.
You need to try something.
Can you elaborate on the shame? Because I mean, what do you mean by the shame? Like, what was happening that brought so much shame, or that there was just like this hush hush?
I don't think that there was anything in my life. Like, there wasn't anything that was anybody that was making me feel that way. It was just me. It was thinking I should be able to deal with this on my own. You know, I shouldn't be stuck up in, I don't know if you guys ever heard this. I don't know your guys' stories, but I heard a lot, you're too young to be in pain. Like, and you know, you would tell somebody and they're like, what do you mean you're in pain? You're 20 years old. I'm like, so there's just this shame around needing help and needing intervention. When you're young, you should be out and doing stuff, living your life. And so, yeah, I think that was where it came from.
And I think, Kalila, that's the whole point of us doing this show, to show people, you know, pain can come in whatever age, shape, size, anything that it is, right?
Yeah,
it really can. So I wanted to ask you a question about coping and support, if that was okay.
Yep.
We know that there is no single prescription or blueprint for coping, but we've been using several different coping mechanisms and different methods to work with the individual. So what were some of the ways that you've coped? If you've consulted, you said that you've talked to a lot of doctors. What clinicians have you seen? I know that you were talking about treatments, and like, even I'm doing the pelvic floor right now for myself. You know, take us through that part in terms of what doctors have been there fighting with you? How many clinicians have you seen? How has it been affecting you, and things like that? How's your coping and support journey been?
I can't really say that I've had the best help from medical professionals. I don't think I've ever really had a doctor that has really fought for me. I just really had to advocate for myself, which is so, so hard when you're in pain. I think a lot of the support that I have comes from my family and my friends more so than my my doctors and stuff. Yeah, I can't say I've had the best experience with doctors. And I think that happens with a lot of people. You get dismissed, and when you bring that up, at least for me, I brought up that I was feeling dismissed with a few doctors, and it backfired. So I don't think I've had the best support from medical professionals. I've tried lots of stuff, and ultimately they have all failed, but I've never had somebody like really advocate for me.
What clinicians have you seen?
So I've seen, I've obviously started with just my family doctor when I first started looking for answers. Then I've seen multiple gynecologists, and ended up ending the relationship, or the doctor-patient relationship, with a couple just because it wasn't working. I've seen the naturopath, which also was just an awful experience. And then I in turn went to a dietitian because the naturopath didn't help with that. The pelvic floor physiotherapist was really wonderful. That was one of the first times that I ever felt seen. But she ended up just not being able to help me. We just kind of hit a crossroads where there was nothing she could do. I did healing touch and magnets. I can't really elaborate on that too much because it's hard to explain. I don't understand it fully myself, but I really enjoyed that as well. But it's expensive. It's really expensive, and it's not covered. So I ended up just having to stop because I couldn't do it anymore. I can't afford it. So those places where I did feel heard and seen, there was some reason why I ended up having to stop. Either they couldn't help me anymore, I couldn't afford it, a multitude of different reasons.
Got you. We speak a lot on the show about relaxation being very helpful with managing symptoms. So what are some of the home remedies that you have had to utilize in order to, manage what you go through, if there's any?
Yeah, I use a lot. I do a lot of heating pads, all the heating blankets, heating everything, which I'm sure everybody loves. I burn them out every day. Like, I just love them. TENS units are really good too. Once you get the hang of it. I know it was like pretty scary for me at first because I thought, oh, this is gonna like pulsate the pain more. But once I got the hang of it, it's a lifesaver. I use a lot of THC and CBD topical creams lately, as well as just CBD vapes or THC vapes as well. When you can, of course, that's hard if you're going to work, like stuff like that. So that's limited to when you can use it. I also started something a while back, maybe a few months ago. I started doing it's called a Relaxation Float. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but it was life-saving when I was in flare-ups. It was the first time before I started on this med that I had been at a pain level lower than 4. And it's only for an hour, so it doesn't last. As soon as I got out, I just felt the pain come back, but it's amazing to have that hour when you're in a 2-week-long flare-up, just to have that hour of, it was down to a 2, and that was the first time in 3 years, I think. It was amazing. So I suggest that to everybody if you have that available to you, but once again, it's expensive and it's not covered. So
we've been talking a lot about the pain side of things. So do you mind if we kind of get a little personal with you and talk more about the intimacy side? Because we've talked about flare-ups, you've talked about boyfriends. And so what I'd like to know is have you actually had a pleasant sexual experience during your chronic condition? And that's what I'd like to know.
So I've had pleasant experiences, but they're far and few between. And I find the more painful experiences that you have, the more blocked you become, and you have this wall put up that you can't really get past it. I've been with the person I'm with now since I was sexually active. So I've had really lucky that I haven't really had to go through that experience of casual relationships with chronic pain. But it's still, there's still difficult things to deal with. My pain, I find sexual interactions with chronic pain is not talked about enough. And I think people don't realize that it's out there and you're normal. I mean, it's not normal to have pain, but you are normal. Like there's people like that out there with you that have pain with sex and can't enjoy sex because of it. And yeah, for me, I have just insane pain during and after, as well as bleeding, constant bleeding with sex, as well as orgasm with or without penetration. I have pain and bleeding with that as well. But there, you can have pleasurable experiences. It's just, it takes a little more preparation. You really have to. So I find if I'm planning on having sex, I'll take my pain meds. I'll put on some THC cream. I've tried THC Lube as well. That's something that is out there for people.
Wait, stop. There's THC Lube?
Yeah. Yes.
I was just about to say, what else do they have?
So it numbs you from the inside?
Yeah. So I've tried it. I wasn't a fan, but there's lots of people that are a big fan. It kind of is like a tingly sensation, but of course it's for you and your partner. So you have to make sure they're okay with it, because I mean, mine wasn't.
I'm trying to numb in the middle of it.
So yeah, it was really weird, but lots of people get a lot of help from it. So that's something you can try. I've tried it, and I don't think I'll try it again, but I use definitely like, use all your pain meds before sex. You have to try all different positions. You'll find a position that works. It might still be painful, but the thing is, the answer to painful sex is not just not having sex. I had so many people say, if it hurts, why are you even having sex? Just stop having sex. Well, that's not the answer. That is not the answer. The answer is to find ways that work for you and for your partner. So
absolutely. You actually just touched on my question I was going to ask you with planning ahead and things you have to do. So Tommy, have you had to be creative when enjoying sexual intimacy?
Yeah, you have to be, I would say you have to be more open. Yeah, definitely more creative. You have to try new things, and you have to be open to the fact that not everything's going to work. And it's hard because you're trying all these new things, and you know what, it still might not work. You still might be in pain. And sometimes there's just not an answer to it. Sometimes you can try everything, and the answer is just you can't do it that day, you know? So it's tough, but yeah, you have to get creative. You have to feel really comfortable with the person that you're with, especially because you're gonna have to tell them beforehand that, you know, this is my position, this is how it's gonna work, and let's try something new.
So can you, if there are other chronic pain conquerors that are watching this, when you say creative, can you give us a couple of examples? Because some of the topics that we've brought up before, and we don't even know if they're applicable here, is like there's touch therapy, and then there's the concept of, you know, entering but then not actually having the full penetration, and then there's like the THC Lube is completely blowing my mind. What are some of the things that not necessarily you've tried but you've heard about out there that might have helped somebody that is also dealing with your condition?
So one of the first things that comes to mind, and I've never tried it, but I've heard wonderful, wonderful things about it, and I still suggest it even though I've not tried it. My pelvic floor physiotherapist suggested it to me. It's called an O-nut. It's basically like a silicone, I think it's silicone. It's like rings that you would put, if you're in a heterosexual relationship, you would put it around the penis, and it kind of stops it from going in all the way, so that you're not getting it's not hitting like your cervix sort of thing. It's not going to be painful, and you can adjust you
put a stopper on it. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Stopper. You can only go this deep.
Yeah, basically. And you can pick the size. So there's like 3 different rings that it comes with. So you can do all 3, and then you can work up to only having 2, and then work down to only having 1. So I suggest that to a lot of people, but I've never tried it. Obviously just doing different positions, doing lots of foreplay, stick to only the foreplay. You know, maybe one day you just can't do it. Just do foreplay.
Okay. We have one other final question for you, my love. So, we always ask our guests to give us an inspirational quote, and yours was, "You are not alone. find your people, hold on to them, support each other. So, was there something that was occurring when this was going on? Because these are very, very powerful words. Like, we'll get paragraphs from people which are just as amazing, but you kept it really simple. You are not alone. Find your people, hold on to them, support each other. Where did that come from to be words of inspiration to our chronic pain community?
I think it came, so I started this year, I started a chronic pain Instagram, and I found just amazing people from all over the world, and these people that you've never met, and they support you so much. Every flare up, I could count on the fact that I can message them and have somebody to talk to me about it and keep me sane, you know? So I think that's where that came from, just having these people that you never would have expected in your life, and they pop in and they save you in these flare-ups. And you'll find these people everywhere, but it's so important to hold on to them when you find them. And yeah, just to know that you're not alone, because for a really long time, I thought that it was weird. I just thought that there was nobody I could talk to. And if you did talk to somebody, you would be judged. But sometimes you just have to open up and you'll find those people. You really will.
Brynn, you are amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And believe me, I guarantee you someone has heard your story and is very inspired. With that being said, please share where they can find you if they want to reach out, follow you. Where can they find you?
So right now I just have my Instagram page, and it's my.chronicpain. I have to say I'm not very active on it right now because I've since starting on this new medication, I feel almost I don't know the right word, but it's not shame, but I feel like I don't deserve to be talking about my story when I'm in this good space right now. And I know that's not true, and that's not true to anybody, but that's just how I feel. So I have to work through that. So that's why I'm not active right now.
Please work through that. Your story needs to always be
I know.
It does. Like, there are days me and Sharifa will be on here, and we used to start about our pain levels, and sometimes we'd be doing the show in a pain 8, or some days we're just pleasurable. Right now, even when you talk about it and you're not in as much pain, that still gives hope to somebody else. That still advises somebody. You know, people can still come to you for advice and be like, how did you do it? Or, you know, what have you been going through? So keep the word out there. Keep advocating, you know. I'm so glad that you're just
good. These are the days to do it.
These are the days to do it. These are definitely the days to do it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brynn, for being on the show with us.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely enjoyed your story, but we want you to hang on while we close out the show so we can chit chat a little bit more.
Perfect. Sharifa.
Girl.
Sharifa.
I cannot put myself in her shoes because I would have just been like, oh God, take me now. Like, it's one of Kalila, my mom always told me, when you think you're going through something bad, there's someone going through way worse. And believe me, I ain't going through nothing.
Listen, I know it sounds like the only thing, and I hope this is the only thing that's in my head going, if I went through that, I probably would not have been, I was never promiscuous, but it would have still limited. Like, I would have been like, no.
Okay, for me, Jamaicans would say the shop would have been locked up until this point. Okay, I can't. But honestly speaking, my hat goes off to her, and I'm really proud that she shared her story because, like she said, it's not talked about. Imagine staying home from school for a week.
A week, like. We needed COVID Zoom in those days for her, so she could have still been in class, but she might have still been like, I don't want to see nobody.
So I really, really, really hope that someone's inspired by her story, because it was an amazing, amazing story that I know there's people going through it. They just don't talk about it. It's not a conversation.
Now that we've switched the platform to hear the voices of these chronic pain conquerors, I am so glad that we still do the show. Like, I'm so glad that we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just leaving me in a place where I'm just like, whoa.
This season, every time the guest comes off, I'm like silenced.
Yeah.
The show for me is done because I'm just so speechless. But nonetheless, these guests are amazing.
Okay, so let's wrap this up because we could talk. You know, me and you, we could talk for hours. We could bring her back on. So some of the things that we definitely want our conquerors to know is that many women who suffer from chronic pain have found relief through, like, she's done the exercises and the yoga, but don't stop. I think for me, the whole thing about it is she was talking about constipation and hurting and things like that. So we talk about this all the time. Like, she's talked to a nutritionist and she's talked to a dietitian, which proves that it's not just food. Food may or may not help you, but watch what you're drinking, like your liquids and stuff like that. Because if you're having some of those issues with the constipation and the bowels, you have to do whatever you can to make your health is easy, so that whatever the rest of your body is going through, it's not stress and stress. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I just want to say to one thing that I learned from Brynn is this: do not give up on finding out about your chronic pain journey. We learned that at the beginning of the show with Gabrielle Union. We're learning this with Brynn Parke. She had to try, and she's still trying. She's tried many medications. Yeah. She's tried many physicians, and she's tried many treatments. And I can understand her pain because that's why I'm in California right now dealing with treatment. And so I know that there are chronic pain conquerors out there. They're sufferers and they're suffering and they're trying to figure it out. But the only voice, and we talk about this, the only voice that is out there is you. So if you know that something's wrong with your body, if what the doctors are saying aren't making sense to you, fight. Mm-hmm. And even if there's nobody around there fighting for you, fight for yourself. And it may be hard, but you can hear Brynn. Like right now, we're having the conversation with her, and she's found something, a remedy that is working with her right now.
Absolutely.
We pray that it continues to work for her, and we pray that, just her pain becomes minimal. But an 8 on a pain level is not fun, you guys. It's not fun at all. So Rita, tell us where people who have such, diseases like endometriosis and adenomyosis can go.
There's a clinic actually right here in Toronto where, we're from. It's you can find information on endometriosis.org. And simply, as we said, Google is helpful. Do your research. It can more than help you connect with someone or something that can help you cope. And I really like what Brynn said. She didn't just settle. She advocated for herself. And that's something we talk about all the time, is advocating for yourself and not just settling with what anyone tells you. You know something's wrong, you keep on fighting for yourself. Yeah. So with that being said, let's go into our keep it moving moment.
Let's go into it.
Some people think that to be strong is to never feel pain. In reality, the strongest people are the ones who feel it, understand it, and accept it.
Wow.
We've been having some good keep it moving moments this season. I can't even lie about that one.
I need you to say it one more time because I want people to understand this.
Okay.
All right. Go for it.
Some people think that to be strong is to never feel pain. In reality, the strongest people are the ones who feel it, understand it, and accept it.
We're going snaps with that one. You guys, listen, we're going to go through pain. Yep. Whether it's chronic pain, acute pain, temporary, permanent, we're going to go through it. Our heart goes through pain. Our mind and emotions go through pain. But the fact is to feel it, to understand it, and accept it.
Absolutely.
And when you do that, you evolve. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Guys, that is our show for today. My name is Sharifa McLaren Thomas from YouTube's A Thomas Life.
And my name is Kalila Bruswell, aka The Overcomer. We will be back next week, Tuesday at 12 p.m. with guest Stephanie Dixon. That's who it is. I'm actually really excited because we were just talking about the pain, and next week we're talking about mental health and chronic pain. Stephanie has been going through this for such a long time. I know her personally, and she's a really wonderful mother who has been trying to live her life the best that she can amidst it all. It's another conversation that you guys don't want to miss.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Chronic Pain Conversations. Be sure to follow us on our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at CP Conversations. If you're a chronic pain sufferer who is ready to share your story in the chronic pain community, or if you have tips on how to manage life through the pain, we invite you to be our guest by filling out a Share Your Story form on any of our social media bio links.
Right. We are also inviting businesses and services that help and support or cater to our chronic pain community. So if you're a health supplier, if you're a marijuana chef, if you're a chronic pain advocate or networker, we want you to come out there. Also, if you advocate for patients' rights, we want to invite you to be a guest and promote your business or service. So again, just to submit your information, visit any of our social media bio links.
And remember, most importantly, Chronic Pain Conversations is a show that enlightens and advocates about chronic pain. We hope you have a blessed day.
Bye.